The station bar smelled like rust and cheap fuel. Sat alone in the corner, his back against the wall, his eyes watching every door. This was a habit from his old life. Once a soldier, always a soldier, even if the wars were over, even if he now worked alone. He was drinking something brown and bitter. He did not know what it was called. The alien bartender had simply poured it and taken his credits. Did not complain. He had learned long ago that complaining got you nowhere in the fringe territories. The bar was full of creatures from a dozen worlds. Some had too many eyes, some had no eyes at all. Some breathed through tubes connected to tanks on their backs. Was the only human in the room. This was normal for him. Humans were rare out here, far from Earth and its colonies. Most humans stayed where it was safe, had never been interested in safe. He was about to order another drink when they walked in. Recognized the species immediately. Were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and clusters of small eyes arranged in patterns on their faces. They were known for being nervous creatures. Diplomats and traders mostly, not fighters. This one looked more nervous than most. His many eyes were blinking rapidly and his long fingers were shaking. They looked around the bar. When he saw, he froze for a moment. Then he walked over quickly, his feet making soft sounds on the metal floor. "You are," they said. It was not a question. The human tracker did not answer. He simply looked at the alien and waited. "I am counselor of the royal house," the alien continued. He sat down across from without asking permission. His many eyes kept looking at the door, then back at, then at the door again. "I have a job for you, a very important job, a very secret job." "I am expensive," said. "Money is not a problem." They reached into his robe and pulled out a small device. He placed it on the table and pressed a button. A holographic image appeared in the air between them. Looked at the image and felt something strange. The woman in the picture was beautiful, but that was not what caught his attention. It was the way she seemed to flicker. Her edges were not solid. She looked like she existed and did not exist at the same time, like she was here and somewhere else together. "Her name is Sara," they said quietly. "She is a Voidborn." Had heard stories about the Voidborn, everyone had. They were beings who existed partially in normal space and partially in something else, something deeper, something humans called subspace or the void. The Voidborn could walk between dimensions. They could step through walls. They could disappear from one place and appear in another. They were rare, and very valuable. "She was supposed to marry Prince of our royal house," they continued. "The marriage was going to bring peace between our people and the Void Walkers. Centuries of tension would have ended, but 3 cycles ago, she disappeared." "Voidborn do not disappear," said. "They shift. They move between spaces. If she wanted to leave, she would have left." "She did not leave by choice." This voice dropped to a whisper. "She was taken." Raised an eyebrow. This was interesting. Capturing a Voidborn should be impossible. They could simply step out of any cage, any ship, any trap. How do you hold something that can walk through walls? "How?" he asked. "We do not know exactly, but we believe the Pale Syndicate is responsible." Now understood why they was so nervous. The Pale Syndicate was not a small criminal gang. They were an organization that stretched across dozens of systems. They traded in rare species, illegal weapons, forbidden technology. They were led by creatures called the Hollow, beings of pure cold logic who saw all life as something to be bought and sold. "The Pale Syndicate has been collecting rare species for years," they said. "They sell them to private collectors, to researchers, to people who want to own what should not be owned. A Voidborn would be worth more than a planet to the right buyer." Looked at the flickering image of Sora again. Her eyes were dark and deep. Even in the hologram, they seemed to hold secrets. "Why come to me?" he asked. "They have resources, ships, soldiers. Why hire a human tracker?" They leaned closer. "Because we cannot be seen looking for her. If the Syndicate learns the royal house is searching, they will move her, hide her deeper, Or worse, they will kill her and sell her body to scientists who want to study void-born biology. His many eyes blinked in distress. We need someone who can work quietly, someone who can go places we cannot go, someone who can find the unfindable. He paused. Your reputation says you are that person. They say you tracked a human criminal through the acid storms of IV. They say you found the missing daughter of a warlord in the deepest tunnels of the Bone Warrens. They say you have never failed to find your target. The stories are mostly true, said. Then find her, please. The pushed a credit chip across the table. This is half. You will receive the other half when she is returned safely. The amount is significant. Picked up the chip and looked at the number. There was not lying. It was more money than he had earned in 5 years combined. But it was not the money that made him decide. It was the puzzle. Someone had caught a void-born. Someone had built a trap for something that should not be, wanted to know how. He wanted to understand. And there was something else, something in the holographic image of Sora. Her face showed fear, yes, but also defiance, also strength. She was not a weak creature waiting to be rescued. She was a prisoner looking for a chance to fight. Respected that. I will need everything you have, he said. Flight records, sensor data, the route her transport was taking, names of everyone who knew about the journey. The nodded quickly. You will have it within the hour. And I work alone. No contact unless I reach out first. No interference, no questions. Agreed. Stood up. He was not a tall man by human standards, but in that moment the seemed to shrink before him. There was something in his eyes, a hardness, a promise. One more thing, said. If I find her and the syndicate gets in my way, I will not be gentle. There will be bodies. There will be problems. Your royal house may face political difficulties. The swallowed. The prince loves her. He has not slept since she disappeared. He has not eaten. He told me to find her at any cost. The alien's voice became firm for the first time. Any cost, tracker. Do what you must. Nodded once. Then he walked out of the bar without looking back. Outside, the station corridors were crowded with aliens going about their business. None of them looked at the human walking among them. None of them knew that a hunt had just begun. Made his way to the docking bay where his ship waited. The sullen crow was old and ugly. Its paint was scratched. Its hull was dented. But its engines were strong and its sensors were the best money could buy. It had carried across 100 worlds. It would carry him to 100 more. He climbed aboard and began his preparations. In a few hours, he would have the data from then the real work would start. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, Sora was waiting. She did not know that help was coming. She did not know that a human had taken her contract. But the Pale Syndicate would learn soon enough. Humans were patient. Humans were stubborn. And when a human started hunting, they did not stop until the hunt was done. Powered up his ship and smiled grimly. The hunt had begun. The sullen crow moved through the darkness like a ghost. No lights, no signals, just a small ship drifting through the empty space between systems. Sat in the pilot's seat, surrounded by screens showing data from a dozen different sensors. The information from the HUD arrived as promised. Flight paths, sensor logs, communication records, everything about Sora's journey before she disappeared. He had been studying the data for 2 days now, eating when he remembered, sleeping only when his eyes refused to stay open. This was how he worked, total focus, complete dedication. The puzzle consumed him until he solved it. The transport carrying Sora had been traveling through a region called the Corridor. It was a standard route used by thousands of ships every cycle. Safe, boring, nothing special. But then the transport had changed course. Just slightly. Just a small turn toward a region of space called the Dead Zone. The Dead Zone was not a place ships went by choice. It was a vast area of empty space where no signals could travel, no communications, no navigation beacons, nothing. Ships that went into the dead zone often did not come out. Those that did come out told stories of strange lights and stranger sounds. Most pilots avoided it completely. But the transport carrying Sara had turned toward it. Why? Studied the sensor logs again. There, a small signal, a distress beacon. Someone had placed a fake emergency call in the transport's path. The captain had done what any decent captain would do. He had turned to investigate. And then the transport had disappeared. Set his course for the dead zone. Other trackers might have given up at this point. The dead zone was too big, too empty. Finding one small ship in that vast darkness was like finding a single grain of sand on a beach. But was not other trackers? He spent 3 days in the dead zone, moving slowly, watching his sensors carefully. He was not looking for the ship itself. He was looking for what the ship had left behind. Every vessel left traces, fuel residue, radiation signatures, tiny particles of metal from engine burns. These traces were small, almost invisible, but they were there if you knew how to look. On the 4th day, he found the first trace, a tiny cloud of particles floating in the darkness. Engine exhaust, old but still there. He followed it. The trail led him deeper into the dead zone. The darkness here was complete. No stars, no light, just endless black in every direction. His ship's sensors were the only things keeping him alive. Without them, he would have been blind. On the 5th day, he found the wreckage. The transport had been torn apart, not by weapons, by something else. The metal was twisted and bent in strange ways. Some pieces looked like they had been pulled apart. Others looked like they had been crushed by invisible hands. Put on his suit and went outside to investigate. The bodies of the crew were still there, floating among the wreckage, counted 7 of them. Their faces were frozen in expressions of terror, but there were no wounds on them, no burns, no cuts. They had simply died. He had seen this before, in old reports about void-born incidents. When a void-born used their full power, the energy they released could kill anyone nearby. The crew had been too close to Sara when she tried to escape. She had tried to fight, she had tried to break free, but something had stopped her. Searched the wreckage for an hour before he found what he was looking for. The ship's black box, a small, armored container that recorded everything that happened on the vessel. He took it back to his ship and connected it to his systems. The recording started normally, the captain talking to his crew, routine checks, boring conversation. Then the distress signal, the captain ordering a course change, the crew preparing to help whoever was in trouble. Then the attack. Ships appeared from nowhere, small, fast, and black. They surrounded the transport before anyone could react, recognize the design. Pale syndicate hunter vessels, built for speed and stealth, built for catching prey. The recording showed the hunters boarding the transport. The crew tried to fight, but they were not soldiers. They were quickly overwhelmed. And then the hunters brought out strange devices, metal frames with glowing crystals. They moved toward the cargo hold where Sara was being kept. The next part of the recording was damaged, static and broken images, but could hear sounds. A woman screaming, not in pain, in rage, the roar of released energy, and then a terrible silence. When the image cleared, the hunters were dragging Sara toward their ships. She was still fighting, but the devices were attached to her wrists now. Her flickering form had become solid. Her power was blocked. The recording ended with a final image. Sara being pulled through an airlock, her dark eyes burning with fury and fear. But there was more on the black box, a separate file, a message recorded after the attack, played it. Sara's voice filled his ship. She sounded tired, scared, but also determined. If anyone finds this message, please listen. My name is Sara. I am a void born of the 3rd house. I have been captured by the Pale Syndicate. They have devices that anchor me to normal space. I cannot shift. I cannot escape. A pause, the sound of her breathing. They are taking me to a place called the Bone Markets. On 7. They say they will sell me to the highest bidder. They say there are collectors who pay fortunes for creatures like me." Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller, more frightened. "I do not want to be sold. I do not want to spend my life in a cage, studied by scientists or displayed like a trophy. Please, if anyone hears this, help me." The message ended. Sat in silence for a long time. The darkness of the dead zone surrounded his ship. The wreckage of the transport floated nearby, holding its dead crew. He played the message again, then again. He was not a man who felt things easily. Years of war and years of hunting had made him hard, cold, practical. Emotions were weaknesses, feelings got you killed. But something in Sora's voice touched him, the way she said please, the way her fear mixed with her strength. She was not giving up, even trapped, even powerless. She was still hopping. Made his decision. 7 was a nightmare place. The bone markets were controlled entirely by the Pale Syndicate. Going there was suicide for most people. The Galactic Council had warned humanity many times to stay away from the fringe territories, to avoid making enemies with the Syndicate. Humanity had listened politely to these warnings, and then humanity had done whatever it wanted. Set his course for 7. It would take 8 days at full speed, 8 days to prepare, 8 days to plan. The Pale Syndicate had taken a void-born bride. They had wrapped her in chains that blocked her power. They were going to sell her like an animal. They did not know that a human was coming for her. Humans were strange creatures. They were soft and weak compared to most alien species. They had no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. They should have been prey animals, hunted to extinction long ago. But humans had something else, something that made them dangerous in ways that other species did not understand. They had stubbornness. They had rage. They had the ability to look at impossible situations and say, "I will do this anyway." The Pale Syndicate was about to learn this lesson. Checked his weapons. He checked his supplies. He checked his ship systems. Then he opened the throttle and flew towards 7. Behind him, the dead zone kept its secrets. The wreckage of the transport drifted slowly, carrying its dead crew toward eternity. And somewhere in the darkness, the echo of Sora's voice still seemed to hang in the empty space. "Please help me." Help was coming. Help was a human with old eyes and steady hands. A human who had never failed to find his target. A human who did not know how to give up. The hunt continued. 7 was not a planet. It was a moon. A dead moon that had been hollowed out and turned into something terrible. Saw it through his viewport as his ship approached. The surface was covered with metal structures, towers and domes and landing platforms, all connected by tubes and bridges. Lights blinked everywhere like stars that had fallen to the ground. Ships came and went constantly. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. This was the Bone Markets, the largest illegal trading center in the fringe territories. Here you could buy anything. Weapons that could destroy cities, drugs that could reshape minds, living creatures from 1,000 worlds sold in cages like animals. The Galactic Council pretended this place did not exist. The Pale Syndicate made sure anyone who complained disappeared quickly. Landed his ship at a public dock on the outer ring. He paid the fee in cash. He gave a false name. The dock workers did not care. They saw 100 ships every day. One more human meant nothing to them. He left his ship and entered the markets. The corridors were crowded with aliens of every kind. Had seen strange creatures before, but this place was different. Here, the strange creatures were shopping for other strange creatures. A being made of living crystal walked past him, dragging a chain attached to a small furry animal that cried like a child. A group of insect-like aliens examined a tank of swimming creatures, discussing prices in clicking voices. Pulled his hood lower and kept walking. He spent 3 days learning the markets. He memorized the layout. He identified the security patrols. He listened to conversations in bars and trading halls. Slowly, he built a picture of how this place worked. The bone markets had 3 levels. The outer ring was for common goods, weapons, ships, regular slaves, anyone could buy and sell there. The inner ring was for special items, rare creatures, forbidden technology, dangerous materials. You needed connections to access the inner ring. You needed to be known. And then there was the crystalline vault, the highest level, the most secure location in the markets. This was where the Pale Syndicate kept their most valuable prizes. This was where they held auctions for creatures so rare that only the richest collectors could afford them. Sara would be there, was certain. On the 4th day, he found someone who could help him. A merchant named who sold information instead of goods. Was a small creature with gray skin and large ears. He looked weak and harmless. This was a lie. Had survived in the bone markets for 20 years by knowing everything about everyone. They met in a quiet room behind a food shop. Many assistants watched from the shadows, ready to act if the meeting went badly. A human said, his voice like dry leaves rustling. We do not see many humans here. Your kind is usually too scared. I am not most humans, said. So I see, studied him with clever eyes. What do you want to know? There is a void-born being held in the crystalline vault. A woman named Sara. I want to know everything about her location, security, access points, everything. His ears twitched. A void-born? You want to steal a void-born from the syndicate? He laughed. It was not a nice sound. You are brave, human, or stupid. I cannot tell which. Can you get me the information? I can get anyone anything, leaned forward. But this information is dangerous. The crystalline vault is controlled directly by the Hollow. Their security is perfect. No one has ever stolen from the vault. No one has ever even tried. How much? Named a number. It was half of what they had paid. He agreed without arguing. His ears twitched again, this time in surprise. You really are serious, the merchant said. I am always serious. Was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded to one of his assistants. I will have the information by tomorrow night. Come back then. Stood to leave. At the door he stopped. One more thing, he said. If the syndicate learns I am asking about the Voidborn, I will know who told them. Smile faded. Is that a threat, human? It is a promise. He left before could respond. The next night, returned to the meeting room. Was waiting with a data chip in his gray hands. Everything you asked for, said. The Voidborn is being held in the upper chamber of the crystalline vault. Her auction is scheduled for 3 days from now. A private sale. Only the richest collectors have been invited. Took the chip, security. 33 hunters guard the vault at all times, professional killers from different worlds, the best the syndicate has. Paused. There are also the anchor devices, 4 of them attached to her wrists and ankles. They block her ability to shift. Without removing them, she cannot use her powers. How do I remove them? Each device has a lock that requires a specific key. The keys are held by the head of vault security, a creature called Thresh. He is 7 feet tall and has killed more beings than you have met in your life. Put the chip in his pocket. Thank you for the information. Grabbed his arm as he turned to leave. The merchant's grip was surprisingly strong. Human said quietly, I have lived in these markets for 20 years. I have seen brave people try brave things. They all died. The syndicate is too powerful. The Hollow are too smart. You cannot win this fight. Looked down at the gray hand on his arm. Then he looked at its face. I was a soldier once, he said. I fought in wars that killed millions. I walked through fire and blood and came out the other side. I have been shot, stabbed, poisoned, and left for dead more times than I can remember. And I am still here. He gently removes hand. The syndicate thinks they are powerful because no one challenges them. They think they are safe because everyone is afraid, but fear is just a feeling. Power is just an idea. The only thing that matters is will, the will to act, the will to fight, the will to keep going when everyone says you should stop. He walked to the door. Thank you for your concern, but I do not plan to die in these markets. Watched him leave. When the door closed, one of his assistants moved closer. Should we tell the syndicate? The assistant asked. Was quiet for a long time, then he shook his head. No, he said slowly. I want to see what happens. I want to see if this human is as dangerous as he thinks he is. Alone in the corridor, studied the data on the chip. The information was good, detailed, accurate. He memorized every path, every guard position, every security system. The crystalline vault was a fortress. 33 hunters guarded it. The anchor devices kept Sora trapped. The head of security held the only keys. The odds were impossible. But had never cared about odds. He cared about results. That night he prepared his weapons. His pistol, loaded with armor-piercing rounds, 3 thermal grenades that could burn through metal, a combat knife with a blade that never dulled, passed down from his grandfather. Simple tools, nothing fancy. He checked each item carefully, then he checked them again. Tomorrow night he would make his move. Tomorrow night he would enter the crystalline vault. 33 hunters would try to stop him. They would fail. He would find Sora. He would free her. And anyone who got in his way would learn why humans were feared throughout the galaxy. Not because they were strong, not because they were smart, but because when a human decided to do something, nothing in the universe could stop them. Closed his eyes and slept. Tomorrow the hunt would end. The crystalline vault stood at the top of the central spire like a crown of glass and light. Its walls were transparent, made from materials stronger than steel. Anyone approaching could see inside, and anyone inside could see everything coming. This was the point. The Hollow who designed the vault wanted everyone to know what they protected. They wanted potential thieves to see the guards, see the weapons, see the impossibility of success. Fear was a better defense than any wall. Stood in the shadows of a nearby building, watching the vault through a small scope. He could see Sora clearly. She was suspended in the center of the main chamber, floating inside a cage of blue light. The anchor devices on her wrists and ankles glowed with the same blue color. Her eyes were closed. Her body was still, but even from this distance could see that she was alive. Her chest moved slightly with each breath. Around her stood the hunters, 33 of them spread throughout the chamber. They were different species, but they all had the same look, the look of predators, the look of killers who enjoyed their work. The largest hunter stood closest to Sora's cage. This had to be Thresh, the head of security. He was massive, 7 feet tall, covered in thick armor plates that looked like they had grown from his own body. His face was flat and wide, with 4 small eyes and a mouth full of teeth shaped like knives. A ring of keys hung from his belt. Studied the scene for an hour. He watched the guards move. He noted their patterns. He identified the weak points in their formation. There were not many weak points. These hunters were professionals. Finally, he put away his scope and began walking toward the vault. He did not sneak. He did not hide. He simply walked up the main path to the front entrance, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. The guards noticed him immediately, weapons raised, eyes locked on the approaching human. Stopped at the entrance. The transparent walls let him see every hunter in the room. Let them see him. "I am here for the woman," he said. His voice was calm, steady, like he was ordering food at a restaurant. The hunters looked at each other. Then they laughed. The sound echoed through the crystalline walls like breaking glass. Thresh pushed forward through his men. He was even bigger up close. His 4 eyes studied like a scientist studying an insect. "One human," Thresh said. His voice was deep and rough. "One small, soft human against all of us." He laughed again. "Did you lose a bet? Is this a joke?" "No joke," said. "Give me the woman, give me the keys to her chains, and I will let you live." The chamber went silent. Every hunter stared at him. Then Thresh's laugh exploded through the room. The other hunters joined in. The sound was deafening. "Let us live." Thresh walked closer until he was looking down at. "Little human, do you know how many creatures I have killed? Do you know what I did to earn my position here? I have crushed beings 10 times your size. I have torn apart warriors from the greatest armies in the galaxy. And you think you can threaten me?" Looked up at the massive creature. His face showed no fear, no doubt, nothing but cold focus. "Last chance," he said. Thresh raised his massive fist. "I am going to enjoy breaking you." The fist came down like a falling mountain, fast, powerful, deadly. It hit nothing but air. Had moved, not jumped or rolled, just shifted, a small step to the side that carried him past the blow. His knife was in his hand now. It flashed once. Thresh screamed. The keys fell to the floor. So did 3 of Thresh's fingers. Grabbed the keys before they stopped bouncing. Then he raised his pistol and shot Thresh twice in the chest. The armored giant fell backward, crashing into 2 hunters behind him. He was not dead. His natural armor had stopped the bullets from reaching his heart, but he was down. He was bleeding, and he was out of the fight. The other hunters finally reacted. Weapons came up, triggers were pulled, energy beams and bullets filled the air. But was not there anymore. He moved through the hunters like water through rocks. He did not stop. He did not hesitate. Each movement flowed into the next. Each action had a purpose. A hunter aimed at him, shot him in the face before he could fire. Another hunter swung a blade at his head, ducked under it and put his knife through the creature's throat. A third hunter tried to grab him from behind. Spun, grabbed the hunter's arm, and used his own weight to throw him into 2 more attackers. The hunters were skilled. They were experienced. They had killed hundreds of creatures in their careers. But they had never fought a human like this. Humans were not supposed to be dangerous. They were small, soft, fragile, easy prey. The galaxy knew this. Everyone knew this. Everyone was wrong. Had been fighting since he was 17 years old. He had trained in a dozen combat styles. He had survived wars that killed millions. Every scar on his body represented a lesson learned. Every wound had made him stronger. He did not fight like other species. He did not calculate odds or weigh risks. He simply acted. He simply moved. He simply killed. 7 hunters were down in the first 30 seconds, 12 more in the next minute. The floor of the crystalline vault was slick with blood. The remaining hunters began to panic. Some tried to run, shot them in the back. Some tried to surrender, gave them one chance to drop their weapons. Those who hesitated died with those weapons in their hands. Within 3 minutes, it was over. 28 hunters were dead. 5 more were wounded badly enough that they would not fight again. Thresh was still alive, lying in a pool of his own blood, staring at the human with something like religious terror in his 4 eyes. Walked past him without looking down. His body hurt. He had been hit several times during the fight. A burn on his shoulder from an energy beam, a cut on his leg from a blade that had gotten too close. Blood ran down his arm from a wound he did not remember receiving. He ignored the pain. Pain was just information. It told you that you were still alive. He reached Sora's cage and looked up at her. Her eyes were open now. She was staring at him with an expression he could not read. Fear, hope, disbelief, maybe all 3. "I am going to free you now," he said. "This might hurt." She nodded. She did not speak. Use the keys on the anchor devices. Each one clicked open with a small sound. As they fell away, Sora's form began to change. The solid edges of her body started to flicker. The blue light of the cage could no longer hold her. She screamed as her power returned. The energy of the void rushed back into her body like water breaking through a dam. The scream was not pain. It was release. It was freedom. The cage shattered. Shards of light fell around them like broken stars. Sora dropped to the floor, caught her before she could fall. She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless, like holding a dream. "Can you walk?" he asked. "I think so." Her voice was weak but clear. "You came for me. I was paid to find you." "Is that the only reason?" Did not answer. He helped her to her feet and led her toward the exit. Behind them, Thresh managed to raise his head. "You cannot escape," he growled. "The Syndicate will hunt you. The Hollow will find you. You will both die screaming." Stopped, he turned back to look at the fallen giant. "The Syndicate took something that was not theirs," he said. "They put her in a cage and planned to sell her like property. If they come for us, they will find the same thing you found tonight." He gestured at the bodies around them. "Tell your masters what happened here. Tell them a human did this. And tell them that if they want the Voidborn back, they can come and try to take her." He turned away and walked out of the vault, Sora leaning against his shoulder. Behind them, Thresh lay in the blood of his fallen hunters. His 4 eyes stared at the empty cage where the Voidborn had been. He had 33 of the best killers in the Syndicate. One human had destroyed them all. The stories were true. Humans were not prey. Humans were something else entirely. Something that even the Hollow should fear. Alarms screamed through the bone markets. Red lights flashed on every wall. Voices shouted in a dozen languages. The Pale Syndicate had discovered the massacre in the crystalline vault. Moved through the chaos with Sora at his side. She was still weak, but her power was returning quickly. Every few seconds her form flickered, becoming transparent for a moment before solidifying again. The void was calling her home. She was resisting its pull, staying in normal space through pure will. "My ship is in the outer docks," said. "Can you make it that far?" "I can make it." She gripped his arm. "But they are coming. I can feel them." She was right. Behind them could hear the sounds of pursuit, heavy footsteps, shouting voices. The Syndicate was sending everything they had. They reached the outer ring just as the first hunters caught up. A group of 8, all armed, all angry. They blocked the corridor ahead. "Give us the Voidborn," the lead hunter growled. "Maybe we let you live." Raised his pistol, 4 shots left. "No." The hunters charged, shot 2 of them before they reached him. Then his gun was empty and he was fighting with his knife and his fists. But this time he was not alone. Sora raised her hand. Her eyes glowed with the light of the void. One hunter who was about to stab in the back simply vanished. One moment he was there. The next moment he was somewhere else, somewhere far away, somewhere he would never return from. The remaining hunters hesitated. They had seen Voidborn power before, but only in controlled conditions, only when the anchor devices held it back. This was raw, this was wild, this was terrifying. Use their fear. He killed 2 more while they were distracted. The last 2 ran. "Thank you," he said to Sora. "You saved me first." She smiled weakly. "Now we are equal." They kept moving. The docking bay was ahead. Could see his ship waiting at the far end. The sullen crow, ugly and battered but ready to fly. They were 50 meters away when the Syndicate ships appeared. 3 hunter vessels dropped out of the sky and landed between them and the sullen crow. Their weapons pointed directly at Sora. Doors opened. More hunters poured out, 20 of them, 30, 40. And then something else emerged from the largest ship. Something that made even the hunters step aside with respect. It was a hollow. Had never seen one before. He had heard descriptions. He had read reports, but nothing had prepared him for the real thing. The hollow was tall and thin, with skin like white paper and eyes like empty holes. It wore no weapons. It carried nothing. It simply stood there, looking at Sora with those empty eyes. "Human," its voice was like ice breaking. "You have caused significant damage to our operations. You have killed valuable personnel. You have stolen valuable property. This is inefficient. This is wasteful. This is unacceptable." The woman is not property, said. Everything is property. The hollow took a step forward. Everything has a price. Everything can be bought and sold. This is the natural order. This is efficiency. You have disrupted efficiency. You must pay the cost. It raised one thin hand. The hunters behind it raised their weapons. You will return the Voidborn to us. Then you will die. This is the most efficient outcome. This is what will happen. Looked at the army facing him. 40 hunters, 3 ships, 1 hollow. Behind him the markets were flooding with more syndicate forces. There was no escape, no reinforcements, no backup plan. He had 16 shots total between his reloaded pistol and spare magazines. His knife was covered in blood. His body was damaged and tired. The odds were not just bad, they were impossible. He thought about giving up. The thought lasted less than a second. "Sara," he said quietly, "can you walk us through the void?" She looked at him with surprise. Void walking is dangerous for non-Voidborn. The energy can tear normal beings apart. It can destroy minds. It can kill. "Can you do it?" She was quiet for a moment, then she took his hand. "I can try, but you have to trust me completely. You have to hold on and not let go, no matter what you see or feel." Squeezed her hand. "I trust you." The hollow saw what was happening. Its empty eyes showed something that might have been surprise. It raised its hand higher. Kill them now." The hunters fired. Energy beams and bullets filled the air. And then and Sara were somewhere else. The void was not darkness. It was not light. It was something between. Something that human eyes were not built to see. Colors that did not have names swirled around them. Sounds that did not make sense echoed in the infinite distance. Felt his mind trying to break, trying to reject what it was experiencing. He held onto Sora's hand and did not let go. "Keep walking," she said. Her voice was strange here. It echoed and overlapped with itself. "Do not look at anything directly. Do not listen to the voices. Just follow me." They walked through the void. It might have been seconds. It might have been years. Time did not work the same way here. Things moved in the corners of his vision. Things that were not quite shapes, not quite creatures. He did not look at them. He kept his eyes on Sara's back. He kept his hand in her hand. He kept walking. Finally they emerged. They were floating in normal space. Stars surrounded them. The bulk of a large ship filled the view beside them. Looked at the ship and felt relief wash over him. It was a human patrol vessel, a military ship from the Earth Defense Fleet. They had walked through the void and emerged in human territory. Sara collapsed against him. The effort of carrying him through the void had drained her completely. She was barely conscious. Held her and activated his emergency beacon. 10 minutes later they were aboard the human ship. Medics took Sara to the medical bay. Officers surrounded, asking questions he was too tired to answer. "Who are you? Where did you come from? How did you appear next to our ship?" Gave them his name and his registration number. He told them he had a void-born passenger who needed medical attention. He told them they needed to contact the royal house. Then he sat down in a corner and closed his eyes. The hunt was over. Sara was safe. The syndicate was far behind, unable to follow them into human space. He had done the impossible again. 3 days later they reached space. Prince himself came to meet them. He was tall and elegant, with many eyes that wept with joy when he saw Sara alive and well. The reunion was emotional, beautiful. Watched from a distance as the prince embraced his bride. Sara looked over shoulder in Met's eyes. She smiled. He nodded once. Counselor approached him with the second half of his payment. "You have done the impossible, human. Our entire kingdom is in your debt. There will be ceremonies, honors. Your name will be remembered in our histories." "Keep the ceremonies," said. "Keep the honors. The payment is enough." He turned to leave. "Wait." Sara had left the prince's arms. She walked toward, her form flickering slightly with each step. "I never thanked you properly." "You do not need to thank me. I was paid." Is that really all it was? She stood close to him now, close enough that he could see the depths in her dark eyes, the endless spaces that lived inside her. "You walked through the void for me. That was more than money." Did not answer for a moment. Then he reached out and gently touched her flickering hand. "If you ever need me again," he said, "you know where to find me." She smiled. "The void shows me many things, many possible futures. In some of them I see you again. Then maybe I will see you too." He walked away without looking back. He returned to his ship, the sullen Crow, and flew out into the darkness between stars. Behind him, a wedding was celebrated. Peace was secured between the Void Walkers and the Pale Syndicate retreated from 3 systems, unwilling to risk more conflict with humans. And in the bars and markets of the galaxy, a new story spread. The story of a human tracker who walked into a fortress alone and walked out with a void-born bride. The story of a man who looked at impossible odds and smiled. They said he was still out there, still taking contracts, still finding the unfindable. They said that if you had something stolen, something lost, something precious that needed to be saved, you could hire him. You could find the human tracker. But they also said to be careful. Because if you were the one who had done the stealing, the losing, the taking, you should pray he never came for you. Because when a human hunted, nothing in the universe could stop them. And had never failed to find his target. Never. The sullen Crow disappeared into the void between stars. And somewhere in the infinite darkness, Sora watched him go with eyes that saw across dimensions. Someday she would see him again. She was certain of it.